Hello there, and welcome to my main flower bed garden. This is the part of my garden I decided to start and create first, since there were already 2 clumps of these beautiful peonies growing in the plot. And naturally, I decided that I simply had to make use of them. But the first question was, of course, how to do that. When we first moved in, I was quite irritated by the fact that the whole plot was so very open. And what I remember hating especially was that the driveway seemed to be such a big feature in our garden. Luckily, I came up with the idea of using the lovely peonies in order to create a division between the driveway and the lawn. I divided the 2 clumps of peonies into 7 different clumps in total, but I must say I didn't do a very good job in planting them at first, because I didn't really have any gardening experience from before. No worries though, I simply replanted them again after reading some instructions on how I should have done it the first time. And as you can see, there was no big harm done, as my hedge of peonies is looking quite glorious, even if I say it myself. But of course there are plenty of other things in this division too these days. Almost right after planting the peonies, I realized that I needed to start adding other things to the mix in order to create a proper border. So I started to add in some trees and testing out different type of flowers. I also realized that I wanted to make the barriers to other spaces in my garden even more substantial. So I bought and made a wall of these leaf compost baskets, that's what they are called in our country at least, but I didn't want to block the view towards the main flower bed from our house, so I decided to use this decorative fencing on this side to create a see-through barrier. I don't know how you feel about it, but personally I'm quite happy with the way the decorative fencing sort of frames the wild summer growth. But please excuse me, there are still some things to be mended with the paving. It is a quite late addition to our garden, so yes, still some little fixes to be done. I started to create my main flower bed garden in 2015, so it's now 10 years in the making. All in all, I'm quite happy with the structure of it, sort of the bare bones. But what has proven to be most challenging to me around my whole garden is figuring out what sort of flowers I really love and how they fit together. The flower combination that I am happy with in this flower bed is the peonies, mixed lupis and achilledras. There are also some other flowering perennials growing in this flower bed, but I'm not going to give them the credit of mentioning them for the moment, since I'm not yet sure if I'm going to let them stay here or pull them out. But I feel I must say something about the one perennial I've already given up on. It was the one you saw earlier, the oriental poppy. They did give a wonderful display of flowers when in bloom, but the flowering period, at least in my garden, was very short, only a couple of weeks max. And when the flowers withered away, also their stems and leaves died down, turning brown and started to rot, which didn't look nice at all. So I gave up the oriental poppies, even though part of me still misses their glorious blooming period. Luckily though, I have found some glorious replacements, like these mixed luppies. I have grown them from seed, sowing them directly to the ground in spring, and the outcome has therefore been somewhat a surprise. One can really never know what comes up from a seed mix, but I have been most happy with the results. The seeds seem to germinate very well, and these are very vigorous plants, so they grow very well. And if I keep cutting the flower stems after they have bloomed, I can get them to flower repeatedly. 3 times is the best that I can achieve in my garden, it seems. First flowering is naturally the best. Loads and loads of these huge flower spikes appear. The second flowering is also quite full, but the spikes of flowers are much smaller. The third flowering happens quite late in the autumn, when some random but quite huge flower spikes still appear. And what about the achilleias? Personally, I have truly grown to love the achilleias for playing the part in my flower bed that can sometimes be a bit undeserving. It's like the peonies are the queens in my flower bed. The luppies are perhaps the princesses, but the achilleias, they are like the fairies, who bring with them the magical power of tying all these lovely flowers together. The achilleias succeed in this, I think, because they do not try to compete with the other flowers, but rather they complement them. Indeed, in the future, I want to try and find a couple of more of these complementary plants. Just 1 or 2 flowers perhaps, and perhaps some bushes. My dream garden here, you see, isn't too filled with different colors, because in my opinion it can then become a bit too messy. For example, the luppies, when in their first full bloom, they do give quite enough interest just on their own, don't you think? In fact, in my dream garden here, I believe the trees, bushes, and different type of leaf forms actually play a more crucial role. Indeed, in time, I would like to have a garden of several layers here. A garden that's almost at the point of being too overgrown rather than being too tidy. To give you an idea what I'm after, I've moved quite far from our main flower bed garden, right under the old apple trees. Here you can feel how the big branches create a jungle-like feeling of secludedness. The garden style that I'm dreaming of could be called secret, hidden garden of the past. When summer turns to autumn, one is faced with a whole new set of challenges, which I feel that in many ways I've yet to tackle completely. Sure, there are some conifers and many late-blooming plants that one can use to fill in the gaps in one's flower bed after summer. And even though some flowers are kind enough to bloom yet again, I cannot help feeling the melancholy when other plants start to die down. For example, the peony stems that give nice green structure to this whole flower bed during the most of the summer start to die down when the cooler September air moves in. At this point, I'll cut the peony stems and usually have struggled with the emptiness that they leave behind. This autumn, however, I finally got the idea that I might try putting more of these hydrangeas into the flower bed so that at this time of year they might form another blooming hedge. And this is how it looks. The peonies are out, but I've left the supports there so that you can see where they stood. The two hydrangeas in the middle are newcomers, but they are the same variety as the ones on the edges. I think my first reaction is that I like it. I certainly like the look now more than I did before. And I must confess, this was a very easy change to try out, since I already had these hydrangeas. They were just growing in a different spot in my garden. This is something that I do quite a lot. When I see some plants that I like, I tend to buy several right at the beginning, even though I don't yet know where I'm gonna put them all. So what happens then is that they end up in several different places in which I get to see how I like them, and usually after some time I get new ideas on where they might look the best. But even though I would say that I'm quite good at imagining the end result, there are always some surprises. Like in this case, I didn't anticipate how well the lovely fall color in these hydrangeas would match the apple trees behind. In this first video, I've shown you the creation of my main flower bed garden. The garden is by no means finished, so I would very much like to hear your comments on how I could improve. I would also like to make many more of these garden makeover videos, since I have many garden rooms within my garden. If this is something you would like to stay tuned for, please consider subscribing the channel. It is totally free, and by clicking the notification bell, you will get notified directly when I have posted a new video. Thank you very much for watching this one, and bye for now.